Ranging from G.I. Joe to Dexter's Laboratory, the 90s were the golden era for cartoons, and many of our childhood memories stemmed from sitting in front of the TV to catch up on our favorite cartoon characters' lives. While we just mentioned a couple of mainstream shows, cartoons are a medium that thrived in the 90s, and production houses greenlit hordes of underrated cartoon series that have been forgotten over time. From shows such as Rovers and Dragonflies to older cartoons such as the Pirates of Darkwater, today we shall go back in time and jog up your memories as we explore the most underrated cartoons from the 90s. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Going somewhere, boys?
It's Moo! It's Moo!
Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, 1992 to 1993. To kick off this list, we have Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, an American animated television series that is truly the cream of the crop when it comes to classic cartoons. The show was created by the same comic artist who worked on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it aired as a part of ABC's Saturday morning lineup. As the name suggests, the show revolved around a cowmatized world and was based on the premise that a comet strike on the Western Plains in the 19th century triggered a mutation in the population. As they adapt to their new lives, this bovine community seeks inspiration from the tales of the Wild West and bases their personalities on whatever limited knowledge they have about the corrupt sheriffs and ruffians that characterize the West. The titular characters, Cowboys, were a bunch of peacekeepers who strived to uphold justice in Cowtown, and they were led by the headstrong Marshal Moo Montana, who was determined to make the West a safer place to graze. He was quick to jump into action, and he lived by the code of the West, something that he had invented to begin with. Marshal Montana led the Cowboys, which included other characters such as the Dakota Dude and the Colorado Kid, and the cartoon revolved around their adventures with Mayor Oscar Baloney and Sheriff Terrible as they battled crime and upheld peace. While the cow pun might be a bit overkill, this show does a fantastic job of executing this humor, and it's also packed with concepts such as steampunk and the Weird West.
It's high adventure with the Pirates of Darkwater.
The Pirates of Darkwater, 1991 to 1993. Produced by Hanna-Barbera Studios in the early 90s, The Pirates of Darkwater was a 2-season-long cartoon set on the alien world of Myr. Unfortunately, a great tragedy had befallen the people on Myr, as their planet was being devoured by an evil substance known as the Dark Water. As the citizens scramble to find a solution, our protagonist, Ren, steps up to find the long-lost 13 treasures of rule that can supposedly help control the Dark Water. Ren was allegedly the prince of the once famous kingdom of Octopon, but he was raised far away from royalty by a lighthouse keeper on the outskirts. As the cartoon progresses, Ren becomes more and more aware of his destiny as he embarks on the adventure of his lifetime along with a bunch of misfits such as a pirate, an ecomancer, and a monkey bird. While they try to get their hands on the lost treasure, stakes run at an all-time high as the land of Myr faces turbulence due to the Dark Water, while an evil pirate lord rushes to find the treasure for himself before Ren can get to it.
I had an idea I thought would help Larry.
Project Geeker, 1996. Created by Douglas Tenhaple for CBS, Project Geeker followed the life of a crazed individual named Geeker, who had the ability to shapeshift into anything. He came into being in a futuristic world where the evil Mr. Moloch created him as a part of a genetic shapeshifter experiment titled Project GKR. While Moloch hoped to program Geeker to become a deadly weapon that worked at his disposal, a female cyborg named Lady Macbeth got her hands on the shapeshifter before Moloch could finish his programming. Since Geeker was not fully programmed, all the bugs and glitches in his system turned him into a klutz who could only display his shapeshifting abilities occasionally. This sometimes served as a blessing or a threat to those around him, as his random energy blasts left his enemies and friends befuddled. The show primarily revolved around Geeker's adventures as he navigated the world while also doing his best to stay out of Moloch's reach.
Right. right, all buckles up.
Then let's hit the road, Rovers!
Road Rovers, 1996 to 1997. Following the lives of a bunch of superpowered anthropomorphic dogs known as the Road Rovers, this show aired on Cartoon Network in the late 90s and was truly one of the most underrated cartoons of this era. These dogs were the creation of Professor Shepard, who had been experimenting with transdogmifier technology for the longest time until his rival finally compelled him to use this technology to create 5 Caino sapiens. These superdogs took it upon themselves to solve world problems, and they lived with major world leaders such as the President of the USA, the British Prime Minister, the Swiss President, the Chancellor of Germany, and even the Kremlin. Posing as pet dogs, the Road Rovers kept their superhero identity a secret and patiently waited for a signal to jump into action. They were led by Hunter, a golden retriever mixed breed who stayed with the US President, and the rest of the team consisted of an assortment of dog breeds. Road Rovers certainly made for an intriguing watch, and the premise in itself was so captivating that kids couldn't be helped but be drawn to this team of pet-turned-vigilante dogs. The Brothers Flub, 1997 to 1999. Did you just wonder if you heard the name right? Because we did too. While the name is a clever play on a brothers club, this Nickelodeon show is actually about an alien brother duo named Guapo and Fraz Flub, who travel across the universe in a spacecraft and work for the retrograde interdimensional couriers. The story follows Guapo and Fraz's adventures as they overcome hurdles and explore quirky new universes such as Hip City and the land of oversized games while delivering as couriers. The two brothers could almost be considered foils to each other, wherein Guapo was short and stout while Fraz was tall and slender. They donned bodysuits and caps and marched out into the universe in their pursuit of new, exciting worlds. And it's a shame that this show did not amass a vast fan following, especially considering the fact that it was quite well received by critics. Eeek The Cat, 1992 to 1997. Revolving around the life of a silly purple cat named Eeek, this animated series from 1992 was packed with slapstick humor and pop culture references. The show's protagonist was Eeek, a purple cat from the city of Metropolis, who made quite a name for himself through his antics. He marched through life with a belief that it never hurts to help, and this easygoing outlook got him into hot water in the most unimaginable ways. He lived alongside a human family who couldn't really communicate with him, but he could talk to most animals and often found himself going out of his way to aid them at great personal expense. In fact, the show's primary plot revolves around how Eek's selfless acts land him in trouble, but his optimistic attitude and joyful nature help him bounce back in no time. Life with Louie, 1995 to 1998. Inspired by the childhood of an American stand-up comedian named Louie Anderson, this 1994 series received critical acclaim and won a bunch of prestigious awards, including 2 Emmys. The show premiered on Fox as a Christmas special, and it was quite literally based on life with Louie as he grew up under the loving eye of his mother, his war-obsessed father, and a bunch of siblings. The Anderson family resided in a fictional town in Wisconsin, where an 8-year-old Louie lived an honorable life and stood up for the rights of others. He had a sharp sense of humor, and he even displayed a lot of emotional maturity as he dealt with situations with sensitivity. As an impressionable and intelligent young boy, Louie was a role model in the form of a cartoon, and he often inspired his young audience to develop moral values and honor. Angry Beavers, 1997 to 2001. Created by Mitch Schauer for Nickelodeon, The Angry Beavers was a 4-season-long American cartoon series that revolved around a beaver brother duo. After leaving their parents behind, Norbert and Daggett decided to step out into the world on their own and make an identity for themselves. As they settled down in a forest near the fictional Way Outta Town, the two brothers had a love-hate relationship, but they managed to take care of each other and survive survive on their own. While Norbert was the older, more mature sibling with a voice of his own, Daggett was more free-minded and often had insane ideas. Norbert had to often rush to Daggett's defense and be the voice of reason, even if it meant that he had to be rude and insulting towards his brother. On the other hand, Daggett could be a bit childish and immature, and he had a habit of being oversensitive and rude as a defense mechanism. The Secret Files of the Spy Dogs, 1998 to 1999. Exactly like the name suggests, The Secret Files of the Spy Dogs followed a secret organization of dogs that worked in stealth to protect the world from any threats. The show was produced by Saban Entertainment, and it aired on Fox Kids in 1998 and went on for 2 seasons until 1999. The show followed anthropomorphic, intelligent dogs who could walk on 2 legs and even converse with others, but also lived a secret life, as their owners had no idea of what they were capable of. While their masters believed these dogs to be regular pets, the spy dogs bore the burden of fighting crime and battling enemies such as Bear and Bone, Catastrophe, Fleas, and strange aliens. Their team was led by a bloodhound known as Dog Zero and consisted of other members such as Ralph, Mitzi, Scribble, and Angus, who all differed in their breeds but shared a common determination towards protecting the world from great evils. One of their biggest antagonists was Catastrophe, an evil cat who was trying to dominate the world with the help of an army of mummy cats. The Secret Files of the Spy Dogs was packed with comedy and action, and it surely deserves more recognition than it gets. Space Goofs, 1997 to 2006. Space Goofs was a French animated series that first aired on television in 1997, and it was the first cartoon that Zealand produced with the intention of reaching an older audience. The show followed 5 extraterrestrial beings from the planet of Sigma B, who had embarked on a space picnic but had unfortunately ended up crashing on Earth. These beings, named Candy H, Caramella, Etnopolino, Bud Badiovich, and Gorgeous Klaatu, were greatly distressed on Earth as they worried that they might be captured if humans discovered their true nature. They sought shelter in a secluded attic and were determined to shoo away anyone who approached this house until they found a way to return home. As they made themselves comfortable on Earth, these extraterrestrials relied on a device known as the SMTV that allowed them to transform into any entity that they desired. Space Goofs was certainly an apt name for these strange beings, who often goofed up and ran into all sorts of trouble while trying to keep their identity under wraps.
Because this crime-natizing caper is far from over, the real villain remains...
Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century, 1999 to 2001. Inspired by the classic works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd Century was a British-American cartoon series that was based on the premise that this world-class detective comes back to life in the 22nd century. It starts with Inspector Beth Lestrade chasing down the French rogue geneticist Martin Fenwick, who seems to be in cahoots with the 19th century criminal genius James Moriarty. Soon enough, Lestrade uncovers that this Moriarty was actually created artificially by stealing the cells of the original man from the 90s, and she then gets her hands on Sherlock Holmes's corpse and convinces a biologist to regenerate his cells and bring him back to life. What follows is a whole lot of chaos, as this genuine detective jumps to his feet at the thought of solving a crime. Only this time, he must adapt to the customs and culture of the advanced 22nd century. Produced by DIC and Scottish Television, this show received much praise and critical acclaim in the form of Primetime Emmy nominations, and it's pretty sad that the show remained an underrated gem that deserved more flowers.
Let's sing some wings! Dragonflies maximize!
Dragonflies, 1996 to 1997. Created by Savin Yateman Eiffel, Dragonflies was a French-American animated series from 1996 that focused on a coalition known as the Dragonators. The show was released alongside a toy line known as Dragonflies, and it was set in the 41st century after the events of the Cataclysm. It followed the adventures of a bunch of dragon riders on Earth who were trying to fight off enemy forces from conquering the planet while safeguarding humanity's future in a faraway city. Dragonflies was set in quite a naturalistic setting, with fights taking place over inhospitable wastelands, volcanic sites, and rivers of lava that flew from mountain peaks to lowly landscapes. While most of the human population resided in an airborne city, the Dragon Riders also bore the responsibility of flying back to Earth's surface to retrieve enough amber crystals to fuel the functioning of this newly built city in the clouds. These Dragon Riders, also known as the Dragonators, used a technology that enabled them to sprout dragonfly-like wings to ensure a safe flight. Their team was led by a human named Zenith, the eldest of the 4 siblings that comprised the team. Marvelous verdict. To wrap things up, the 90s certainly were a gift that kept giving when it came to unique cartoon series, and all these shows make for excellent examples. From shows based on superhero dog teams, such as Red Rover and the Secret Files of the Spy Dogs, to something like Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, these underrated cartoons ooze with creativity and entertainment value, and we hope you find a few gems for your next cartoon watch. And if you liked our content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.